Chapter 201-Unspeakable. Namikaze Minato sat side by side with Uzumaki Kushina on the sofa. Lee and Uchiha Makoto sat on the sofa opposite them. Uchiha Makoto and Uzumaki Kushina explained the ins and outs of the matter in detail. Namikaze Minato finished listening. He turned to look at Lee, stood up suddenly, bowed to Lee, and said, "Brother Lee, thank you." Lee did not say, "No thanks," but accepted it calmly. Thanks, he deserves it. If it wasn't for him, then Uzumaki Kushina would be dead now. Moreover, in order to save Uzumaki Kushina, he has exposed his two cards. Namikaze Minato sat down again, looked at Lee, and said, "Brother Lee, I haven't seen you for more than a week. I'm very pleased that your strength has reached such a level." Lee waved his hand and said, "You don't need to say polite words. I want to ask you a few questions." "Did Brother Lee want to ask who did the trick to me?" Namikaze Minato asked. Lee's eyes flashed slightly. "This Namikaze Minato is really smart." Lee nodded. Namikaze Minato shook his head. "To be honest, I don't know either." "Oh, you don't know either?" Lee narrowed his eyes. Logically speaking, with Namikaze Minato's calm temperament, he shouldn't be ignorant of who the other party is. Even if you don't know the exact name, you should have a clue. But now he said, "I don't know." Lee stared at Namikaze Minato with suspicion. He suddenly had a guess. Did Namikaze Minato want to become the Jinchuriki column power of Kyuubi, Nine Tails, so as to obtain the power of Kyuubi, Nine Tails, so he approached Uzumaki Kushina and set up a set for Uzumaki Kushina today. Lee admits that he is a very dark person. However, Lee also admitted that the world is darker. In the original work of Hokage, Namikaze Minato is indeed a gentle, kind, calm male god, but in this world, he is not necessarily such a person. Since the rise of Lee step by step, the world has changed. Maybe Namikaze Minato has also changed. Uzumaki Kushina saw Lee's skeptical gaze, his eyebrows furrowed slightly, and he asked, Hey, what's your look? Do you doubt Minato?" Lee replied indifferently, "Everyone has suspicions." Hearing this, Uzumaki Kushina was a little displeased. "Then if you say so, you are also suspect." Uzumaki Kushina wanted to speak out against Lee, but unexpectedly, Lee nodded directly, "Yes, I am also suspicious." "Not only that, but you are also suspicious." "Huh?" Uzumaki Kushina pointed at himself, blinking, puzzled. Lee explained, "Who knows what we have encountered today? Is it your scheming? In fact, you have already betrayed, but in order to make us believe in you, you did this." "Lee, you!" Bang! Uzumaki Kushina slapped the table with fire, and shouted, "Why do you doubt me? Don't say it, everyone has suspicions." Lee's face was indifferent, and he said lightly, "Besides, I am your savior, so you speak to your savior in this tone." Uzumaki Kushina was startled, speechless. Nothing in the world can carry a single word of reason. Today, Lee takes the lead, and Uzumaki Kushina can't refute Lee no matter how unreasonable it is. "Minato, look at him, he knows to bully me." Uzumaki Kushina shook Namikaze Minato's arm and asked him for help. Namikaze Minato chuckled. However, his smile was a little forced. There seems to be something unspeakable. Chapter 202-Hungry. Seeing Namikaze Minato's unintentional expression, Lee's eyes narrowed even tighter. "This guy must be hiding something from me," Lee resolutely said, "but he didn't say it. Did he have any troubles? Or, as I guessed, he was actually a villain." As a standard rich second generation, Lee has followed his father in various official gatherings, shopping malls and banquets since he was a child. Therefore, his observation skills are not generally strong. Namikaze Minato thought he was covering it up well enough that no one would see his mood swings. However, in Lee's eyes, his cover-up was like nothing. Li Yi can see his mood at a glance. Therefore, Li Yi asked directly, "What's your plan next?" Namikaze Minato replied, "Let's inform Hokage-sama about this first, and then proceed with the next action according to Hokage-sama's decision." Hearing this, Li Yi smiled and said in his heart, he really knows how to play football. Li Yi asked Namikaze Minato what to do, but Namikaze Minato kicked the question to Sarutobi Hiruzen. If Li Yi didn't doubt Namikaze Minato, then he would definitely praise Namikaze Minato's high emotional intelligence and a calm and steady male god. However, Li Yi is now suspicious of Namikaze Minato, so after hearing this, Li Yi's vigilance towards Namikaze Minato is even stronger. Again, in Li Yi's eyes, everyone is suspicious. But the size of the suspect is different. For example, even Uchiha Makoto is suspected, but Uchiha Makoto's suspicion is very small, almost negligible, so Li Yi did not suspect her. Seeing Li Yi laughing without saying a word, Namikaze Minato asked, "Brother Li Yi, how about you? What are you going to do next?" "I think the same as you. First report this matter to the people of Hokage, and listen to what Lord Hokage has to say." Li Yi said lightly. "Since you play the ball, then I also play the ball. Treat others with their own way." Hearing this, Namikaze Minato stood up and said, "If that's the case, then, Brother Li Yi, let's go together." However, Li Yi shook his head, "I'll go later." "Oh." Namikaze Minato flashed a strange color in his eyes, looked at Li Yi and asked, "Brother Li Yi, what else is going on?" Li Yi replied lightly with two words, "I am hungry." "Huh." Namikaze Minato was startled. Uzumaki Kushina was also taken aback. Only Uchiha Makoto shook his head with a wry smile. As the person present who knows Li Yi best, Uchiha Makoto has long been surprised by Li Yi's not following the routine answer. Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant. Li Yi is drinking ramen with Uchiha Makoto. If you want to use devil fruits, you have to consume stamina, which is the energy in your body. In other words, it's calories. Li Yi teleported back home from such a far place, and the energy consumption during that time was not too big. Therefore, Li Yi is very hungry. However, Uchiha Makoto wasn't hungry, she didn't ask for ramen. Originally, Li Yi wanted Uchiha Makoto to go to Hokage's office with Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina to report the situation to Hokage-sama. However, Uchiha Makoto did not follow Li Yi, saying that if there was danger, she would protect Lin Chen. For jokes, Li Yi just smiled. Li Yi's fighting power may not be as good as Uchiha Makoto's. However, Li Yi's life-saving ability is indeed much stronger than Uchiha Makoto. So, in the event of a real danger, who protects whom? Of course, Li Yi also knew why Uchiha Makoto chose to stay with him. Chapter 203 She can't leave him. The previous death experience, Uchiha Makoto no longer wants to be separated from Li Yi. Before the battle, Uchiha Makoto had vaguely noticed her feelings for Li Yi, but she was not sure, and even felt that her wonderful feelings for Li Yi were just her illusion. However, in the previous battle, when Uchiha Makoto faced death, especially when Li Yi appeared in time to protect her, she realized that she could not do without Li Yi. She never wanted to be separated from Li Yi again. She wants to stay with Li Yi all the time. Why she came here with Li Yi? With Uchiha Makoto's serious character, he will definitely go to the Hokage office with Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato to report today's situation. Li Yi can also sense the feelings of Uchiha Makoto. As a scumbag king in the 21st century, Li Yi's emotional intelligence has reached a very high level. However, Li Yi didn't say anything, but silently opened the main panel of the system. Among the quest options, one is capturing the heart of Uchiha Mikesan. Today, this item still exists. However, this item is flickering and gradually illusory, as if it will disappear in the next moment. Obviously, this task is about to be completed. Lee Yi is about to completely capture the heart of Uchiha Makoto. Lee Yi sighed in his heart, alas. To be honest, from the beginning, he did not deliberately capture the heart of Uchiha Makoto. He didn't even want to finish the task. But unexpectedly, the result is still the same. Could it be that brother's charm is so great? Lee Yi touched his chin and muttered to himself. Conscience, during the time he spent with Uchiha Makoto, has Lee Yi ever done anything excessive to her? Not to mention it's too much, Lee Yi has always behaved well and never took the initiative to tease Uchiha Makoto. Looking at Uchiha Makoto's beautiful face, Lee Yi was thoughtful. And Uchiha Makoto saw that Lee Yi was looking at him, his cheek Yuhi. He wanted to change the subject and asked, Lee Yi, are you finished eating? Lee Yi nodded. I am done eating. Then let's go to the Hokage office. Kushina and Minato should still be there. Saying that, Uchiha Makoto stood up. However, Lee Yi said, wait. Huh? Uchiha Makoto blinked and looked down at Lee Yi. Lee Yi asked, you haven't told me the reason yet. What? Why? Uchiha Makoto blinked his beautiful eyes, a little puzzled. Lee Yi explained, why did your attitude towards me change suddenly? We haven't only known each other for 2 or 3 days. We've known each other for so long, so there's no need to hide anything. Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto just wanted to say, we have only known each other for more than a week, has it been a long time? The end, though, Uchiha Makoto explained, because I know you're lying to me on purpose. Yesterday, in the eyes of Uchiha Makoto, Lee Yi was still a scumbag who played with many women and was disgusted by her. However, she went out for a trip, and when she came back, she became a good wife and mother, taking care of Lee Yi in all aspects. This made Lee Yi very puzzled. Did Uchiha Makoto suddenly change his temperament? At that time, Lee Yi wanted to ask, but due to various urgent matters, the matter was delayed. Now that there is plenty of time, Lee Yi asked. Uchiha Makoto smiled, smiling like a flower, beautiful and moving, and explained. Chapter 204-Kiss Up. I know that you said that to protect me. You deliberately misunderstood me and kept me away from you to ensure my safety. This is your good intentions, right? Uchiha Makoto asked, smiling like a flower. Hearing this, a strange color flashed in Lee Yi's eyes. He didn't expect that Uchiha Makoto could read his mind. It seems that this girl really understands me more and more. Lee Yi teased in his heart. However, since the matter has come to this, if it is still deliberately concealed, it will mean, there is no silver 300 taels here, so it is better to admit it generously, so Lee Yi nodded and said, that's right. So. Uchiha Makoto smiled knowingly and said, since I know your good intentions, how can I continue to be fooled by you? You are a good man, not a scumbag at all. Hearing this, Lee Yi just wanted to say, if you knew what I did on Earth, then you would not only call me a scumbag, but you might even call me a scumbag king directly. In my last life, in the circle of friends, I was notorious for being a big radish. Love is such an incredible and wonderful thing. Uchiha Makoto suddenly popped out such a sentence. Lee Yi blinked. Uchiha Makoto smiled at Lee Yi, are you curious why I say such things? Lee Yi nodded cooperatively. Uchiha Makoto said, because I seem to understand love soon. Hearing this, Lee Yi just said, oh. At the same time, on the main panel of the system, among the task options, the item capturing the heart of Uchiha Makoto is still flashing, and the frequency of flashing is getting higher and higher. At this moment, a hint of doubt appeared in Lee Yi's heart. Could it be that women in this world are so good at strategy? From the very beginning, Lee Yi did not deliberately use any means against Uchiha Makoto. However, Uchiha Makoto's heart is about to be captured by him. Therefore, Lee Yi couldn't help thinking, if he used all his skills and means to attack Uchiha Makoto from the beginning, then, would Uchiha Makoto fall in love with him completely in 3 or 4 days, and he would not be able to extricate yourself. Like Tsunade. Of course, Lee also knows that the reason why this situation is happening now is mainly because he and Uchiha Makoto have experienced various things. From the initial rescue, cohabitation, training, to today's battle, many things happened during this period, which is the main reason for the further development of the relationship between the two. Without these things, the progress between him and Uchiha Makoto would not have been so fast. You know, back then, in order to capture Tsunade's heart, even if Lee used all the skills and means he knew, it took a few months. And in the end, he happened to sleep in the same bed with Tsunade, and using this as an opportunity, he successfully captured Tsunade's heart. If there is no mutual embrace and sleep that night, then the relationship between Lee and Tsunade cannot be sublimated to the level of love. Open black lens bracket capturing the heart of Uchiha Makoto close black lens bracket. This task is still flashing, and it has not disappeared. Uchiha Makoto stopped talking, but used those big beautiful eyes, matching the height of Lee's sight, to stare at Lee's eyes. Lee looked at her. From her tender eyes, Lee could see that as long as he kisses now, the task of capturing Uchiha Makoto's heart will be completed. So, kiss up. Chapter 205-Cleanliness. Actually, Lee really wanted to kiss him. Whether it was Uchiha Makoto's scorching eyes with moistness and tenderness, or her tender cherry mouth, Lee wanted to possess it. Lee even had the urge to roll on the bed with Uchiha Makoto. Although it has been 6 or 7 years since he came to this world, Lee has never touched any woman's body. Although Lee is not a thirsty person, Lee is also a mature man. His body structure and physiological instincts make him inevitably have some primitive impulses. To be honest, Lee really wanted to taste the sweetness in Uchiha Makoto's mouth. However, Lee has just finished ramen now. Mouthful of ramen seasoning and beef. And that strong garlic smell. Although Uchiha Makoto may not mind, Lee himself minds. How would you like to kiss a woman with your mouth just after eating garlic? But any normal person would not do that. Lee is not a good person, he will not do such crazy things. Anyway, Uchiha Makoto's feelings for him have been determined, and there is only one chance left to sublimate his feelings into love. So, to taste the sweetness in her mouth, there is a chance for this kind of thing. Waiting for Uchiha Makoto to brush Kiba, Lee brushes Kiba to rinse his mouth, the two prepare enough, and then go to taste each other's XX, wouldn't it be a perfect thing? Well, that's right, Lee not only feels that there is a taste in his mouth, but he is also worried about the taste in Uchiha Makoto's mouth. Although Uchiha Makoto didn't eat ramen, he was very careful about his hygiene and had no bad breath, but Lee was still worried about what other things would happen to Uchiha Makoto. So, brush up on Kiba separately, prepare enough for each other, and it's not too late to move on to the next step. Lee has a good impression of Uchiha Makoto, that kind of affection has not yet risen to the level of love, so his cleanliness will be committed. If it were Tsunade, then Lee might have kissed him desperately now, and was lingering with Tsunade. In the face of the person he likes, Lee will not care about cleanliness or uncleanliness. But now, sitting in front of Lee is not Tsunade, but another beautiful woman. Therefore, Lee is not only worried about the taste of seasoning, beef, garlic, but also worried about whether there is anything dirty in Uchiha Makoto's mouth. Therefore, he suppressed the urge to kiss up in his heart. In fact, love is a very simple thing to say. When the relationship between a man and a woman is good to a certain level, it only takes a suitable opportunity to develop the relationship between the two into love. For ordinary people, or, in other words, for honest people, opportunity is something that can be met but not sought after. However, for Lee, opportunities such as opportunities can be created artificially. Is the scumbag a false name? Just like the love between Lee and Tsunade, the opportunity was because the two slept in the same bed, unintentionally, back then. And Uchiha Makoto's feelings for Lee, the opportunity is because Lee saved her today. Moreover, Lee is very clear that love with an opportunity will have a longer shelf life. The opportunity for feelings to sublimate into love will always be engraved in the depths of my heart. In the future, whenever I recall this incident, a happy smile will appear on my face. Can this kind of love have a long shelf life? Chapter 206-Crisis. Uchiha Makoto's scorching hot eyes with tenderness and moistness really made Lee unable to hold back. In fact, Lee is already very restrained. Change it to any other man, and now maybe he has, up and down. Uchiha Makoto needs to have a good appearance, a figure, and a temperament. This kind of beauty is liked by a normal man. However, after considering at least 3 factors, Lee did not put the most primitive impulse in his heart into action. Lee is not an indecisive person. Now that you have made a decision, follow it through to the end and never regret it. Therefore, Lee stood up, stretched and said, "Let's go to the Hokage office." Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto's beautiful eyes flashed with disappointment. Just now, she and Lee looked at each other affectionately, and she thought that Lee would take away her first kiss. She is also very willing to give her first kiss to Lee. But unexpectedly, Lee did nothing. "Don't he look down on me?" On Uchiha Makoto's beautiful, smooth and fair face, there was a look of utter despair. That pitiful appearance cannot help but make people feel pity. Because Uchiha Makoto lowered her head, Lee did not see the change in her expression. And, the next moment, Uchiha Makoto's expression returned to normal. Therefore, Lee didn't think much about it. Lee pays. Uchiha Makoto waits at the door. After that, the two walked side by side and went to the Hokage office together. However, neither of them noticed that not far behind, in the shadows formed by the buildings, a pair of eyes were staring at them. Because there were no emotional fluctuations in their gazes, neither love nor dislike, but rather calm, neither of them noticed the gaze. After the two walked away, the eyes narrowed suddenly. At the same time, behind the owner of this gaze, 2 figures appeared out of thin air. As soon as these 2 people appeared, they were half kneeling on the ground, wearing a long robe, kabuto hat with a robe, and a clown mask on their faces, covering their real faces. At the same time, a hoarse voice sounded in this shadow. "Tomorrow, catch the woman and set up a trap to keep the man alive. After you catch the man, kill the woman to prevent the rumors from leaking, understand?" The words are simple and capable. Understood. Both nodded. Immediately, his body flashed and disappeared out of thin air. Those eyes with no emotion and tolerance, staring at the direction where Lee and Uchiha Makoto disappeared, muttered to himself, "I didn't expect that there is such a deep hidden man in Konoha village. It's a pity that you are too kindness, too much love and righteousness, your fetters will become a help to be caught by me." Quote. The hoarse voice was like the wailing of an evil ghost in hell, and when it sounded, the man disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Lee nor Uchiha Makoto thought that a huge crisis was approaching them silently. They had all arrived at Hokage's office by this time. Both Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato are here. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Nara Shikaku were not there. Seeing Uchiha Makoto and Lee walk in, Uzumaki Kushina gave Lee a blank look and asked, "Are you finished? Are you full? Are you comfortable?" There was a hint of sarcasm in her tone. When such a serious thing happened, Lord Hokage should be notified immediately, but Lee didn't do it, instead he went to fill his stomach first. There's nothing like a ninja at all. Lose your ninja face. For Uzumaki Kushina's 3 consecutive questions, ridicule, Lee chose to turn a blind eye. He nodded lightly, "Yeah." Then he asked, "Ape, where's Lord Hokage?" Chapter 207-Stubborn. Uzumaki Kushina looked embarrassed and replied, "Lord Hokage went to dinner." Lee raised his eyebrows slightly. Did he go to dinner? Why did he go to dinner for such an important matter? Hearing this, Uzumaki Kushina turned over a good-looking big Byakugan and thought, do you still have the face to talk about others? Actually, Uzumaki Kushina didn't hear it. Li Yi was actually mocking her when he said this. Uzumaki Kushina said, "It's not because of you. If you come with us, the four of us will tell Hokage-sama what happened together." How could Hokage-sama go to dinner? Hokage-sama is going to eat because you are not there. That's a bad word. Hearing this, Li Yi shook his head, shrugged slightly, and said, "Humans are iron, rice is steel, and if you don't eat a meal, you will be hungry. Lord Hokage must be hungry, so he went to eat. There is a saying, sharpen your knives. Don't cut wood by mistake, eat enough food first, and then work harder. Do you think this is the truth?" Uzumaki Kushina didn't want to argue with Li Yi about such a boring thing, so he snorted and didn't speak. Uzumaki Kushina is a tsundere. The closer the person is, the more she can't let go. Of course, among them, Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Makoto are the exceptions. Are only two people that Uzumaki Kushina trusts most, Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Makoto. Uzumaki Kushina already treats them as family. Therefore, even if Uzumaki Kushina is a tsundere, he will not be a tsundere to his family. Her tsundere temperament will only be shown to friends. And now, in Uzumaki Kushina's subconscious, Li Yi has become her friend. The past, even if he knew Li Yi, but Uzumaki Kushina didn't even talk to Li Yi, how could it be possible for Li Yi surrender? Uzumaki Kushina is not someone who crosses rivers and demolishes bridges and is ungrateful. It is precisely because Li Yi rescued her that she has subconsciously regarded Li Yi as a friend. Today, Uzumaki Kushina doesn't want to have this pointless argument with her friends, so she doesn't pay any attention to Li Yi anymore. Of course, Li Yi is not a person who likes to talk nonsense. The reason why he talks nonsense has only one purpose. He wants to observe Namikaze Minato. Li Yi is still a little skeptical about Namikaze Minato. When he was at home before, Li Yi felt that something was wrong with Namikaze Minato. Therefore, Li Yi wanted to observe the psychology of Namikaze Minato by changing his expression. Namikaze Minato's expression, he can only chat with him or with Uzumaki Kushina. Maybe there is a sentence that happens to touch Namikaze Minato's heartstrings. In other words, Li Yi's mentality is a kind of monster mentality. Could it be covered up? But unexpectedly, Uzumaki Kushina did not continue to refute him. Strangeness. Uzumaki Kushina's character is very aggressive. No matter what it is, as long as it does not meet her expectations, she will immediately refute it. In the words of the earth, Uzumaki Kushina is a human spirit. However, even so, Uzumaki Kushina chose to remain silent now. Incredible. Just when Li Yi was thinking, Sarutobi Hiruzen came back with Nara Shikaku. Seeing that the four of Li Yi were here, Sarutobi Hiruzen said straight to the point, "Minato, Li Yi, tell me in detail what happened to the two of you today." Namikaze Minato and Li Yi were in tandem, explaining the ins and outs of the matter, word for word. Sarutobi Hiruzen listened, those sharp eyes narrowed into a slit, and a wise light flashed in them. Chapter 208 Namikaze Minato's Guess. Namikaze Minato told the truth about what happened to him. Went out on a mission with 2 Jonin, because it was only a B-level mission, so for a strong man like Namikaze Minato, it was done quickly. However, on the way back, they encountered resistance. Because the opponent's attack was too sudden, except for Namikaze Minato, who knew space ninjutsu, the other 2 Jonin died. Those 2 Jonins are good friends of Namikaze Minato, and good friends are dying in front of them. Even though Namikaze Minato is a calm person, how can he hold back his anger? Thus, Namikaze Minato unleashed revenge. However, the opponent is in the dark, Namikaze Minato is in the light, and the opponent is hiding quite covertly, so even Namikaze Minato cannot catch the opponent. After dealing with each other for a while, both sides had nothing to do with each other, but just as the battle entered the heat of the battle, the other party seemed to have encountered something and suddenly left. Namikaze Minato was unable to catch his opponent and returned to the village. The more he thought about it, the more wrong he felt. He felt that the previous battle was just for the opponent to keep him outside the village in order to hold him back. It's like a tactic to tune the tiger away from the mountain. Namikaze Minato is very smart. If it is really a trick, what is the real purpose of the other party? Namikaze Minato thought of Uzumaki Kushina. Therefore, he went to Li Yi's house. What happened after that, needless to say. And that's what Namikaze Minato encountered today. Li Yi also told the truth about what he encountered. Because Uchiha Makoto and Uzumaki Kushina were both witnesses, Lin Chen couldn't distort the facts and could only report truthfully. Hearing the words of the two, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes gradually narrowed, and he lowered his voice and said, "It seems that this is a planned, purposeful and directed action against Kushina." This, Li Yi turned a Byakugan slightly and thought to himself, "Didn't I say this just now? Why do you want to repeat it?" Sarutobi Hiruzen took a hard puff and continued, "Kushina is a Jinchuriki column force from Kyuubi, Nine Tails. It seems that the other party is interested in Kyuubi, Nine Tails." Namikaze Minato frowned slightly and said, "Kyuubi, Nine Tails, is such an evil being, how could anyone be interested in him?" Hearing the word, evil, Li Yi almost laughed out loud. Aware of the strange expression on Li Yi's face, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes flashed, stared at Li Yi and asked, "Li Yi, what do you think?" Sarutobi Hiruzen is a rigid person, he is very wise, so he knows that Li Yi is already extraordinary. If you look at Li Yi with the eyes of the past, then you will suffer a big loss. Under Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze, Li Yi shrugged and replied, "Namikaze Minato has been playing against each other for so long. Although he hasn't seen his true face, he should already have some doubts in his heart." Having said this, Li Yi paused, turned his head to look at Namikaze Minato, and continued, "After all, that's what a person can do. Fighting back and forth will always reveal some clues." Hearing this, Namikaze Minato's expression changed slightly. Although Li Yi's answer had the taste of kicking a ball, it was also reasonable, so Sarutobi Hiruzen set his sights on Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato, however, seemed to have something to hide, and said, "Lord Hokage, I do have some guesses, but..." Chapter 209-guess. But. Having said that, Namikaze Minato paused for a while, as if he had something to hide, and did not continue. Li Yi narrowed his eyes. This Namikaze Minato seemed to be afraid of. But, in this world, are there people who are afraid of Namikaze Minato? With the strength of Namikaze Minato, even if it is not the opponent's opponent, it is not easy for the opponent to kill him. Therefore, in the ninja world, there should be no one who Namikaze Minato is afraid of. So what is he afraid of? Is it not the fear of being killed by the other party, but the fear that my answer will affect the development of Konoha village and make everything around it a mess? Li Yi guessed in his heart. Li Yi can think of, Sarutobi Hiruzen can naturally think of it, so Sarutobi Hiruzen replied, "Minato, don't worry, just say what you think, there are no outsiders here." However, Namikaze Minato still hesitated, first glanced at Nara Shikaku, and then looked at Uchiha Makoto, Uzumaki Kushina, and Li Yi respectively. His intention is very obvious, to let these people out. He was going to talk to Sarutobi Hiruzen about his guesses alone. After all, it matters. Nara Shikaku is very funny, he picked up the back of his head, sighed and said, "Oh. This is trouble, okay, I'll go out first, you guys talk." After speaking, he walked out with heavy steps, looking very tired. Uzumaki Kushina has a violent temper, she listens to Namikaze Minato's words very much. At this time, seeing Namikaze Minato nodding lightly, she walks out. Uchiha Makoto set his sights on Li Yi. Compared to Uzumaki Kushina listening to Namikaze Minato's words, she wants to listen to Li Yi's thoughts. However, Namikaze Minato-'s serious expression made everyone realize the seriousness of the problem. Therefore, Uchiha Makoto thought that Lee Yi would also go out. But unexpectedly, Lee Yi said, "Actually, I also have an object of suspicion, and the object of my suspicion." Having said that, Lee Yi paused, turned his head, and looked at Namikaze Minato with a smile. "It may be the same person as your guess, so I'll stay here." Namikaze Minato blinked. Although some do not believe what Lee Yi said, Lee Yi saved Uzumaki Kushina from the enemy after all. Therefore, he had no choice but to nod and say, "Brother Lee Yi can stay here." Lee Yi smiled slightly, then turned to look at Uchiha Makoto, and nodded at the latter. Uchiha Makoto understood, turned and walked out of the room. So, in this office, there are only 3 people left. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of cigarettes and said, "I count to 3, and say the object of your suspicions at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Namikaze Minato, Danzo-sama. Lee Yi, Shimura Danzo." The 2 spoke at the same time. Although the words are different, it is the same person. Namikaze Minato's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Lee Yi in a bit of amazement. He didn't expect that Lee Yi and his suspect were really the same person. Lee Yi was expressionless, as if everything was expected. Hearing that the 2 of them said Danzo's name at the same time, Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped smoking. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen is a person who has experienced strong winds and waves after all, and his heart is very strong. Therefore, the next moment, his words, deeds and expressions returned to normal, saying, "Chapter 210_appreciate. I see, but what evidence do you 2 have?" Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. "Shimura Danzo is also half a Hokage. He leads Anbu in Konoha village. If Shimura Danzo really did this, then things would be a little troublesome." Namikaze Minato talks eloquently. He has played against each other so many times, and he is already familiar with the opponent's attack methods. Namikaze Minato has a high IQ. Although the opponent is very secretive, Namikaze Minato can still detect that the opponent should be a ninja with wind attributes. Originally, the object of Namikaze Minato's suspicion was foreigners, but after many battles, Namikaze Minato gradually put his suspicion on Shimura Danzo. After listening to Namikaze Minato's explanation, Sarutobi Hiruzen took a hard puff of cigarette, snorted, and thought. After thinking for a while, he put his eyes on Lee Yi again and asked, "Lee Yi, where is your evidence?" 1. If the other party is a foreigner, it is impossible to send dozens of Jonin at the same time. Jonin is an important fighting force in each country, and it is unreasonable for 40 or 50 Jonin to leave the village to perform tasks. If these Jonin are damaged, then it will be a huge loss for the combat power of the entire country. Therefore, the opponent is definitely not a foreigner, but a person from Konoha village who knows Uzumaki Kushina very well. Quote. Lee resolutely said. "Should you narrow down your suspicions first?" Hearing Lee Yi's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded lightly. Lee Yi continued. "Secondly, those people who used water ninjutsu wanted to put the blame on the land of water, but foreigners didn't know that there was a battle between the land of fire and the land of water. They thought it was done by the Kingdom of Thunder. Moreover, only a few high-level executives knew about the conflict between us and the Kingdom of Water, but the 40 or 50 Jonin wanted to frame the matter on the Kingdom of Water. Must be the upper level of Konoha village." Quote. Having said that, Lee Yi said no more. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to have an unfinished taste and asked, "What else?" Lee Yi spread his hands. "No more. You suspect Danzo for these 2 reasons." Sarutobi Hiruzen took a hard puff. Lee Yi shook his head gently. "I'm not doubting." Under Sarutobi Hiruzen's suspicious gaze, Lee Yi continued, "I'm sure." Although his voice was not loud, the confidence in his tone was self-evident. "Oh." Color flashed in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. Namikaze Minato just doubted Danzo, not sure. However, Lee Yi is so confident. This made Sarutobi Hiruzen look at Lee Yi's eyes slightly changed. This kid's strength and intelligence are already comparable to Jonin. Sarutobi Hiruzen squinted his eyes, looked Lee Yi up and down, and said to himself, if the rules don't allow it, then I'm not sure that he will directly become a Jonin. To be able to escape in the hands of 40 or 50 ninjas is not something ordinary people can do. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen is a rigid person. Rules are rules, without rules, no circle can be formed. As Hokage, he must set a good example for the whole village, and he can never violate the rules at any time. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Namikaze Minato and Lee Yi with admiration. In fact, even if Lee Yi and Namikaze Minato didn't say the word, Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen had already guessed that Danzo might have done this. As a close friend, Sarutobi Hiruzen is literally the person who knows Shimura Danzo best in the world. Chapter 211-Nursing. Uchiha Makoto and Uzumaki Kushina wait outside the room. Uzumaki Kushina asked, Makoto, what do you think of that guy Lee Yi? Uchiha Makoto's delicate body trembled slightly. What do you think? Uzumaki Kushina gave Uchiha Makoto a surprised look. Although I don't know why the latter heard the word Lee Yi, why there was such a huge reaction, but Uzumaki Kushina didn't think about it, but asked, Lee Yi is too weird. Uchiha Makoto blinked. What's so weird? He's just a genin, but he has such a powerful strength. Compared to my Minato, he is no different. He hides too deeply. Uzumaki Kushina touched his chin, like a big detective. Uchiha Makoto didn't care. So what? So, I suspect that he is a spy sent by the enemy country. Uzumaki Kushina solemnly said in a low voice. Uchiha Makoto sighed lightly, seemingly speechless. What are you sighing for? Uzumaki Kushina blinked her beautiful eyes. Uchiha Makoto replied, Lee Yi is our savior. Well, I don't deny that. Uzumaki Kushina head taps. Uchiha Makoto continued, without Lee Yi, I'd be dead now. Well, if it wasn't for him, I might be dead by now. Uzumaki Kushina nodded lightly. She is the Jinchuriki column force of Kyuubi, 9 tails, and once Kyuubi, 9 tails, is pulled out of her body, she will surely die. Other party is here for Kyuubi, 9 tails, so if it wasn't for Lee Yi, then the pair of sisters would have long since died without a place to be buried. Kushina, aren't you quite self-aware? Uchiha Makoto gave Uzumaki Kushina a strange look and said, if Lee Yi is our enemy, how could he save us? Wouldn't it be better for him if we died? Maybe he has bigger, deeper plans. Uzumaki Kushina said with a frown. Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto sighed lightly and asked, since you suspect that Lee Yi is a spy of the enemy country, then I suspect that Minato is a spy of the enemy country, is that okay? How is this possible? Uzumaki Kushina immediately shook his head. Minato has made so many contributions to our Konoha village, how could he be a spy? Straightforward. Uchiha Makoto spread his hands. Yes. Lee Yi has also contributed so much to our Konoha village, how could he be a spy? Uzumaki Kushina was speechless for a while. The end, she could only stare at Uchiha Makoto and ask, Makoto, why are you so protective of that man? Did you drink his ecstasy? Uchiha Makoto flipped a Byakugan. Then why are you so protective of Minato? Hearing this question, Uzumaki Kushina's cheek slightly slanted Yuhi, thinking, because I like Minato. However, she did not intend to say such shy words. Suddenly, Uzumaki Kushina seemed to have thought of something. His eyes lit up. He grabbed Uchiha Makoto's shoulders with both hands, and asked, Makoto, do you like Lee Yi? As soon as these words came out, Uchiha Makoto's whole body froze, and the speed of blinking suddenly accelerated. Feeling Uchiha Makoto's obviously rapid breathing, Uzumaki Kushina suddenly realized, no wonder you are so protective of Lee Yi. Huh. Uchiha Makoto opened his mouth slightly, pretending to be stunned. Uzumaki Kushina suddenly smiled proudly, and said with his arms crossed, but the ugly words are ahead, my Minato is the most powerful. Uchiha Makoto, who has always been gentle and does not like to refute, suddenly did not want to. Chapter 212-compare. Without any hesitation, Uchiha Makoto directly retorted, Lee Yi is also very powerful, isn't it? Then let's compare. Uzumaki Kushina raised his brows slightly, showing a hint of provocation. This is the usual Uchiha Makoto, certainly not arguing about this kind of thing with Uzumaki Kushina. There is absolutely no value in arguing about such a boring thing. Also, Uchiha Makoto is gentle and doesn't like to argue with people. Not to mention that the other party is still her best friend. However, Uchiha Makoto really doesn't want anyone to look down on Lee Yi. Therefore, without any hesitation, Uchiha Makoto nodded directly, okay. Let's compare. How to compare? Uzumaki Kushina didn't expect that Uchiha Makoto agreed without hesitation, and his face couldn't help but look surprised. She thought to herself, I'm not married yet, so just protect me like this. If it's married, that's fine. However, Uzumaki Kushina didn't think much about it, but said with a smile, if conditions permit, I hope that the two of them will fight one another, and the actual battle will reveal the truth. However, this kind of thing cannot be achieved, so we can only compare verbally. A moment. Good. Uchiha Makoto nodded flatly. Uzumaki Kushina stretched out a finger and said, 1. My Minato knows the technique of Hiraishin. Looking at the entire ninja world, there is no other person who can do this kind of ninjutsu. My Minato has the fastest speed, and speed is power. Having the fastest speed is equivalent to having the greatest strength. Quote. Uchiha Makoto immediately retorted, but Lee Yi also knows time and space ninjutsu. Uzumaki Kushina shook his head. His speed is too slow to match Hiraishin's technique. Moreover, as long as Minato marks Lee Yi's body, no matter how far away, Minato can instantly appear behind Lee Yi, and then, Lee isn't Yi certain death. Uchiha Makoto retorted. Lee Yi's space ninjutsu has his own space, that space, even if you mark it, you can't enter it, right? This. Not necessarily. Uzumaki Kushina's tone became hesitant, and said, although Lee Yi's space is not a real space but a different space, but how do you know if you don't try it? Uchiha Makoto shook his head again. Lee Yi's ninjutsu can also make a mark on the enemy's body. Once the mark is made, he can instantly appear behind the enemy and kill the enemy. Hearing this, Uzumaki Kushina was speechless. After all, Lee Yi's ninjutsu is very similar to Hiraishin's technique. Moreover, Lee Yi's ninjutsu, as well as its own space, has one more ability than Hiraishin's jutsu. In order to refute, Uzumaki Kushina had to repeat the same sentence, Lee Yi's speed is definitely not as good as Minato's. Uzumaki Kushina was an impatient person, but when she was refuted by Uchiha Makoto at this time, her temper came up, and she seemed to be playing a rogue. In the past, the gentle and considerate Uchiha Makoto would definitely put an end to this boring argument and comfort Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki Kushina is smaller than her, and as an older sister, she has to make Uzumaki Kushina more. However, at this time, Uchiha Makoto did not give in at all, but retorted again, maybe Minato's speed is indeed faster than Lee Yi, but Lee Yi's ninjutsu has more abilities than Hiraishin's. Moreover, one ninjutsu alone cannot determine the strength of the two, and other means must be compared. After that, the two women began to compare other means, chattering endlessly. Chapter 213-possessive. In the end, the two women came to a conclusion, that is, who is stronger or weaker between the two, and Akatsuki can only be known by playing a game in person. Uzumaki Kushina breathed a sigh of relief and said, Makoto, I haven't argued with you like this for a long time. Remember the last time I argued, it was about your father, right? Uchiha Makoto blinked. As there. Why don't I remember? Uzumaki Kushina pinched Uchiha Makoto's pretty face and said, you have this kind of temperament, you don't hold grudges, you're not like me, but you always remember. After speaking, Uzumaki Kushina puffed out his chest proudly. Uchiha Makoto flipped a Byakugan. What good habit is this? Hey hey hey. Uzumaki Kushina smiled, then changed the subject and said, but then again, Makoto, are you too protective of him? Is there? Uchiha Makoto blinked. She didn't realize it. Yes, of course there is. Uzumaki Kushina nodded. After so many years of friendship, you only argued with me twice. The first time was for your father, and the second time was for this man. Sure enough, you already fell in love with this man, right? Huh. Uchiha Makoto opened his mouth and pretended to be stunned. Ah, what? Don't play stupid. Uzumaki Kushina grabbed Uchiha Makoto's cheek and said, you've only known that man for 8 or 9 days, and you already have a heartfelt promise. Is that man's charm really that great? Having said that, a curious look suddenly appeared on Uzumaki Kushina's face, and he said, how about I teach him? I live with him for 2 weeks, and feel his charm. Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto immediately shook his head. No. Without thinking. A sly look flashed in Uzumaki Kushina's eyes, and he asked, why not? You can teach him, can't I teach him? Uchiha Makoto swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She didn't know how to answer. Just now, her possessiveness made her not even think about it, so she rejected Uzumaki Kushina directly. However, when she came back to her senses, she realized that she did not have the right to reject Uzumaki Kushina at all. Uzumaki Kushina wants to teach Li Yi. It is her own freedom, but it is Li Yi's decision to answer or not. Uchiha Makoto simply can't get in the mouth. However, her possessiveness towards Li Yi made her extremely opposed to this. She knows how attractive Li Yi is, and she worries that Uzumaki Kushina will like Li Yi too. The so-called chishi in the eyes of a lover, in the eyes of Uzumaki Kushina, although Li Yi is very handsome and good in all aspects, he is far from Namikaze Minato. The two are not in the same dimension at all, and there is no comparison at all. However, Uchiha Makoto's opinion is very different from Uzumaki Kushina. In her eyes, Li Yi is the best, so she is worried that Uzumaki Kushina will snatch Li Yi with her. Not only Uzumaki Kushina, but Uchiha Makoto doesn't want any woman in the world to get too close to Li Yi. This is possessiveness. Uzumaki Kushina sighed suddenly and said, but, Makoto, you're in love with someone you shouldn't. Huh. Uchiha Makoto winked. However, how smart is she? How could she not understand what Uzumaki Kushina means? She was worried about the adult. According to many rumors, the person Li Yi likes is Mr. Tsunade, and Mr. Tsunade has already made a secret promise to Li Yi. Thinking of this, Uchiha Makoto's expression darkened slightly, but the next moment, she forced a smile, and the smile she forced out was distressing. She said. Chapter 214-unwilling. I just need to look at him. Uchiha Makoto forced a smile, which made people feel distressed. How is this possible? Uzumaki Kushina immediately objected. He didn't marry Tsunade-sama again. Even if you pursue him, this is your right, and no one can stop you. Having said that, Uzumaki Kushina changed his words, and, who knows if that rumor is true. Maybe it's false. What a stalwart Tsunade-sama is, how could he possibly like? However, having said this, Uzumaki Kushina suddenly stopped talking. Now she already knows Li Yi's strength. Li Yi's combat power is by no means something ordinary people can estimate. Uzumaki Kushina believes that Li Yi must have hidden his power before, so Akatsuki was not known by the higher-ups in Konoha village. He had a great strength a long time ago. Because of this, Li Yi was able to get to know Tsunade-sama at that time, and he captured the heart of Tsunade-sama. You must know, how could the existence of Lord Tsunade like a waste? Therefore, Uzumaki Kushina did not continue to speak. She changed her mind and said, oh, Makoto, you have to have confidence in yourself. Even if he likes Tsunade-sama, won't you just grab him from Tsunade-sama? Are you underestimating your own charm? Uchiha Makoto looked embarrassed. Growing up, she didn't want to compete with others. If Lee Yi really likes Tsunade, she will bless with tears. Uchiha Makoto told himself, as long as Lee Yi can be happy, it doesn't matter what happens to him. However, Uchiha Makoto was not reconciled. Not reconciled. Not reconciled. Not reconciled. Mention Uchiha Makoto, any normal person will not be reconciled. Even if you are a fool, you will not give the object you like to others easily. Uzumaki Kushina continued to instigate. Everyone has the right to pursue happiness, and this is the same for you, Makoto. If you like Lee Yi, then you should pursue him boldly, even if he doesn't choose you in the end, then you don't. There will be regrets, or you will regret it for the rest of your life. Quote. Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto's delicate body trembled, and tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. Uzumaki Kushina's words hurt her heart. Since she discovered her feelings for Lee Yi, she has been pretending to be strong. She feels that as long as Lee Yi is happy, then it doesn't matter what she is. But how could it not matter? She already fell in love with Lee Yi. She is just tough on the surface. Uzumaki Kushina's words touched her weak strength. She couldn't imagine what she would be like after losing Lee Yi. I'm afraid it's hard to even breathe. Looking at Uchiha Makoto's tearful eyes, Uzumaki Kushina felt distressed. She gently poured Uchiha Makoto into her arms, stroked her long hair, and said, My Makoto is so beautiful, how can I lose? What if the enemy is Tsunade-sama? Makoto, you have to be confident in yourself. Your appearance and body are as good as Tsunade-sama. And now that Tsunade-sama is away, you can take advantage of this time to take that stinky man into your arms. Uchiha Makoto just lay in Uzumaki Kushina's arms, sobbing. Now, the strength she pretended to be has been completely shattered. I do not know how long it has been. Uchiha Makoto finally stopped crying. She raised Yuhi's swollen eyes, looked up at Uzumaki Kushina and said, Kushina, I decided. Chapter 215 The Happiest Man. I decided, I want to pursue Lee Yi. I want to be Lee Yi's woman. I want to give Lee Yi happiness. I want to make him the happiest man in the world. In Uchiha Makoto's tone, there is tenderness. Looking at Uchiha Makoto's beautiful eyes with clear tears, even though Uzumaki Kushina is also a woman, she is somewhat moved by her strong will. At this moment, a word suddenly appeared in Uzumaki Kushina's heart. Tsunade-sama is in danger. As Uchiha Makoto's best friend, she knows how difficult the latter will be once she makes up her mind. Even if the opponent is the legendary Tsunade-sama, I'm afraid it will be a headache, right? That's right, Makoto, I'm with you. You two will have a lover who will end up together. Uzumaki Kushina patted Uchiha Makoto's back lightly and said with a smile. Uchiha Makoto wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and hummed softly. However, Uzumaki Kushina changed his words. However, Makoto, there is only a reason for men chasing women in this world. How can there be a precedent for women chasing men? Therefore, I do not recommend you to pursue him, but to seduce him. Huh? Uchiha Makoto blinked. Uzumaki Kushina giggled and whispered in Uchiha Makoto's ear. Men are very nice, and you and Lee Yi are living together now. Wear a few casual clothes, he will definitely be unable to hold back. She's giving Uchiha Makoto bad ideas. However, when Uchiha Makoto heard this, he shook his head and said categorically, Since I want to compete with Tsunade-sama, I have to be upright. I won't use such small tricks. I will use my own actions to make Lee Yi get on me. Firm tone. Uzumaki Kushina suddenly felt a little ashamed. She felt that she did not deserve to be the best friend of this noble and arrogant Uchiha Makoto. Uzumaki Kushina changed the subject and said, According to reliable sources, Master Tsunade will be back in less than a week. You better take him down before that, otherwise, when Master Tsunade returns, your chances are even less. Quote. The tone was rather serious. This, Uchiha Makoto thought about it. In the end, she clenched her fist lightly and said, I will definitely give him happiness, and I will definitely make him the happiest man in the world. Looking at Uchiha Makoto's determined appearance, Uzumaki Kushina sighed inwardly. Although I don't know what kind of ecstasy soup Lee poured into Uchiha Makoto, the fact is, Uchiha Makoto has really fallen in love with Lee uncontrollably. I really envy that guy. I think as a woman, what a perfect life it would be if I had a good wife like Uchiha Makoto. It's a pity that the flowers are stuck in the cow dung. Uzumaki Kushina sighed inwardly. However, she did not express her thoughts. Because she knows that Uchiha Makoto is very protective of Lee now, if she says something like this, then the first person to oppose is not Lee, but Uchiha Makoto. Of course, Uzumaki Kushina is not deliberately belittling Lee, but her character is like this, with a knife mouth and a tofu heart. Her mouth is poisonous, and Uzumaki Kushina is mean to anyone but Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Makoto. But, in fact, in her heart, she had already admitted Lee. However, this, dead Tsunade, is just like that, although he has admitted it in his heart, but on the surface it is still a bit mean. At the same time. Inside the office. Ding. Lee's mind that the crisp and sweet voice of the system sounded. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, capturing the heart of Uchiha Makoto and getting the reward. Chapter 216 Lee's thoughts. Lee was stunned for a moment. Logically speaking, Uchiha Makoto's feelings for him should still lack an opportunity. Uchiha Makoto is full of affection for him now, but has not yet risen to the level of love. If you want to sublimate into love, you must have a suitable opportunity. Before, as long as Lee forcibly kissed Uchiha Makoto, it would become an opportunity for the latter to fall in love with him. However, at that time, Lee held back. Anyway, Uchiha Makoto has a good impression of him, and it will not be too late to create an opportunity in the future to make this kind of affection into love. And, to be honest, Lee didn't want to capture Uchiha Makoto's heart. He does have a good impression of Uchiha Makoto, but this kind of affection is not much, and it is impossible to rise to the level of love. At least his current affection for Uchiha Makoto cannot turn into love. Therefore, Lee intends to delay. But unexpectedly, Uchiha Makoto fell in love with him. It seems that the woman Uzumaki Kushina is doing something. Lee thought to himself. Uchiha Makoto is now with Uzumaki Kushina, so, the only guy who can make Uchiha Makoto's affection for Lee change from affection to love is Uzumaki Kushina. Well, I don't know what that woman said to her. Lee sighed inwardly. Now, Uchiha Makoto has fallen in love with him. Lee wants to figure out how to deal with Uchiha Makoto's feelings. Although he is a scumbag, he is not an irresponsible scumbag. On the contrary, Lee is very responsible. When he was on Earth, Lee was like this. Although he had relationships with many women, he never stepped on multiple boats, and he would try his best to meet the requirements of these women and deal with every relationship seriously and responsibly. The same is true now. Uchiha Makoto has fallen in love with him, so he will not play with Uchiha Makoto's feelings, but will handle this relationship seriously and responsibly. Moreover, the current Lee is very different from the Lee when he was on Earth. When he was on Earth, Lee was very scumbag, the kind of scum to the core. However, the current Lee, who has lived in 2 generations, is actually not that scumbag anymore. At least with his conscience, he has never seduced any woman other than Tsunade, let alone Uchiha Makoto. 2 lives have allowed him to see through life. Therefore, Lee consciously has to deal with Uchiha Makoto's love for him, whether he accepts or rejects it, he has to say it clearly. But then again, the system actually knows about the change in Uchiha Makoto's feelings for me. How does the system know? It's not on Uchiha Makoto's body. Lee Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, and there was a bright light flashing in his eyes. If it was said that the system knew about Lee Yi's emotional changes, then it would make sense. After all, the system is already equivalent to the roundworm in Lee Yi's stomach, so it is natural to know the depths of Lee Yi. However, the system can actually know the emotional changes of Akatsuki Uchiha Makoto, which is a bit miraculous. Lee Yi couldn't figure out the reason. Just as Lee Yi was thinking, Sarutobi Hirazen's energetic voice pulled him back to reality from his thoughts. Lee Yi, Tsunade will be back next week when she will host a small-scale Chunin exam, will you take it? Sarutobi Hirazen's words were interrogative, but their tone was in order. Chapter 217 _ How to Face It. Hearing the word, Tsunade, Lee Yi's eyes lit up slightly. He hadn't seen Tsunade in years. I really miss it. Although they have been accompanied by beautiful women recently, this does not affect the thoughts of Lee Yi and Tsunade at all. You know, Lee Yi fell in love with Tsunade a long time ago. Lee Yi was still a waste, but Tsunade didn't look down on him. Uchiha Makoto doesn't look down on him. The main reason for her feelings for Lee Yi is Lee Yi's powerful strength. If Lee Yi is still trash, then it is impossible for him to develop this relationship with Uchiha Makoto. Of course, if Lee Yi continues to be a waste, the relationship between him and Tsunade will not last long. The world is very real. As the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Tsunade has a high position. How could she marry a waste? If Lee Yi has no strength, then the relationship between him and Tsunade will be broken sooner or later. The law of this world is very simple. Strength speaks, and whoever has strength has the right to speak. Lee Yi now has strength. Moreover, his strength is still advancing by leaps and bounds. Even Lee Yi himself doesn't know what level his strength will leap to in a week, a month, or a year. However, there is only one thing that Lee Yi is sure of, that his strength will definitely become stronger and stronger, and eventually he will be stronger than everyone's cognition. Lee Yi didn't think about it any longer, came back to his senses, nodded lightly and said, "Okay, I will participate. Hope you can successfully become a Chunin and benefit Konoha village," Sarutobi Hirazen said. Sarutobi Hirazen told Lee Yi and Namikaze Minato not to act rashly. Shimura Danzo is a dignitary in Konoha village, and if the two investigate him, they will definitely start a panic and cause unnecessary disturbances. And that's why Namikaze Minato hesitated before. He was worried that his guess would bring disaster to the village, so he hesitated and hesitated. Lee Yi naturally ruled out Namikaze Minato's suspicion. However, Lee Yi still did not fully trust him. Defenses cannot do without. Having been in this world for 5 years, Lee Yi's character has changed. Even in the face of the people closest to him, he will not be careless. Namikaze Minato and Lee Yi walked out of the Hokage office one after the other. Lee Yi is looking at the reward. After completing the task of capturing the heart of Uchiha Makoto, Lee Yi got a chance to evolve. In order to evolve his body before, Lee Yi lost all his belongings. Now, 0 has become 1, which makes him a little happy. What should evolve? Lee Yi's eyes narrowed slightly, thinking uncertainly. What did Lord Hokage say to you both? At this time, Uzumaki Kushina's crisp voice entered his ears. Lee Yi closed the system panel and looked at the two women. I saw that Uchiha Makoto's eyes were open to Yuhi, as if he had just cried. Do not get rid of the word, seems. She just cried. Also, the way Uchiha Makoto looked at him was very wrong. At least Lee Yi felt uncomfortable. Because it was a longing look that wanted to swallow him up. Alas! Lee Yi sighed in his heart. She knows that from now on, he has to face Uchiha Makoto's feelings seriously. Whether he accepts or rejects it, he can't do it perfunctorily. I made a mistake in the last chapter, and it has now been revised. Tsunade is Sarutobi Hirazen's apprentice, not his junior sister. I didn't expect that an old fan like Hokage who has been chasing Hokage for 10 years would make such a low-level mistake. It's embarrassing. Chapter 218 The Psychology of Uzumaki Kushina. Namikaze Minato told the general situation again. Of course, he didn't say the word Danzo. After all, Shimura Danzo is in a high position, and he doesn't want Uzumaki Kushina to get involved in this fight. If you want absolute safety, you can only stay away from the struggle. Namikaze Minato wanted to take this whole thing down by himself. Uzumaki Kushina touched his pointed chin and analyzed. That is to say, in order to avoid scaring the snakes, Lord Hokage asked you not to act rashly, and are you going to wait for the rabbits? Namikaze Minato nodded slightly. Uzumaki Kushina suddenly clenched his right hand with a fierce look on his face, and said, I will definitely avenge this revenge. As long as the other party dares to provoke me again, I will let him die without a place to be buried. When he said this, Uzumaki Kushina's expression was very scary. Namikaze Minato smiled wryly. Lee Yi turned over a Byakugan. Although he knew that Uzumaki Kushina had such a fighting temper, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but be a little speechless. What Byakugan did you turn over? Uzumaki Kushina frowned slightly, pinched his waist with one hand, and pointed at Lee Yi's nose with the other, scolding and asking. Lee Yi didn't want to talk to Uzumaki Kushina, so he had to spread his hands. Lee Yi's indifferent attitude made Uzumaki Kushina even more angry. And, for some reason, Uzumaki Kushina is mad when he sees Lee Yi now. Of course, she is not really angry, but a kind of hope for Lee Yi's approval mentality. It's a bit of an exaggeration. In order to attract Lee Yi's attention, in order to get Lee Yi's recognition, she just kept provoking Lee Yi. Of course, Uzumaki Kushina didn't even notice this feeling. Namikaze Minato thought that Uzumaki Kushina was going to quarrel with Lee Yi, so he hurriedly changed the subject, looked at Lee Yi and asked, Brother Lee Yi, what are your plans next? It's time to eat, drink, play, business as usual. Lee Yi shrugged and replied. Hee, Brother Lee Yi is really a casual person. Namikaze Minato laughed. A battle that was close to death, being so calm made Namikaze Minato more and more impressed by Lee Yi. Lee Yi stretched his waist. However, before that, I have to go home to take a bath and sleep, smelling bloody. In order to save Uchiha Makoto and Uzumaki Kushina, Lee took a lot of physical effort, and his body was covered with the smell of blood. Uchiha Makoto. As for Uzumaki Kushina, because she has just taken a bath, her body is fragrant. However, she is wearing Uchiha Makoto's clothes now, and there are no XX and XX in it, so she has to go home and change clothes. As for Namikaze Minato, naturally, she has to be a flower protector and send her home. That's the case, let's part here, said Namikaze Minato. Good. Lee Yi agreed very decisively. He didn't really want to be with a dead tsundere like Uzumaki Kushina. But at this moment, the door of Hokage's office was suddenly opened, and Sarutobi Hiruzen came out and said, Minato, go to the village of Kurigakure as fast as you can, bring back the scroll of the jointer, and come back as fast as you can. Mission again. As the fastest man in Konoha village, Namikaze Minato is always busy. Despite reluctance, Namikaze Minato also had to separate from Uzumaki Kushina. Therefore, the important role of flower guardian falls on the heads of Lee Yi and Uchiha Makoto. Lee Yi didn't want to send Uzumaki Kushina, but Uchiha Makoto insisted on pulling him with him. In desperation, Lee Yi had to agree. Chapter 219 Lee Yi's Analysis. Uzumaki Kushina walks ahead with Uchiha Makoto. Lee Yi followed behind. Looking at the two women's twisting little shares, Lee Yi stretched his waist. There is no danger in Konoha village. I really don't understand why Uchiha Makoto sent Uzumaki Kushina. Some cups, bows and snakes, making a fuss. Also, why are you pulling him too? However, even so, Lee Yi did not reject Uchiha Makoto. It's not that he has nothing to do, but that Li Yi wants to investigate the enemy's situation. Today, there are many enemies in Konoha village. A land of water lurking in the dark. Shimura Danzo, who is eyeing Uzumaki Kushina. Kaharu Udatane, a high-ranking official in Konoha village. These are all things that cannot be underestimated. Of course, there are also minor characters like Uchiha Fugaku, but Li Yi doesn't care. Li Yi didn't know why Uchiha Fugaku closed down. However, even if Uchiha Fugaku turns on Mangekyo Sharingan, Li Yi is not afraid. Do it if you don't like it. Can't do it, I ran to Sarutobi Hiruzen's side. At that time, even if Uchiha Fugaku came after him, would he still be able to continue attacking Li Yi in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen? Once Uchiha Fugaku opens Mangekyo Sharingan, he will at least have the strength of the elite Jonin. Without knowing Li Yi's means, he may not be able to do anything to Li Yi, and he may be a general by Li Yi. However, once he knew the bottom line of Li Yi, then Li Yi had a big head. Li Yi's own strength is only equivalent to a genin. Whether it is strength, speed, endurance or reaction speed, Li Yi is only equivalent to a genin. Of course, after so many battles, Li Yi's muscle memory for battles has been strengthened, and his physique has also evolved, so his current comprehensive strength, even among genin, is extremely high. The pinnacle of existence. But it's 1 point away from Chunin, every one of his abilities. Whether it is strength, speed, patience or reaction speed, etc., these items are not up to the level of Chunin. If Li Yi's various indicators can reach the level of Chunin, then, combined with the wishful golden hoop stick, the devil fruit, the Kowloon hegemony technique. These unconventional means, Li Yi's overall strength can be compared with that of Chunin. Elite Jonin rivals. You must know that on the system panel, in the line of strength, Li Yi's current strength is the pinnacle of the extraordinary first order. The extraordinary first order corresponds to genin. Extraordinary second order corresponds to Chunin. Extraordinary third order corresponds to Jonin. The extraordinary fourth order corresponds to the elite Jonin. The extraordinary fifth order corresponds to the cage level ninja. With the strength of Li Yi's extraordinary first order peak, combined with other means, it can already be comparable to the extraordinary third order without falling behind. Conceivable that when Li Yi's strength reaches the extraordinary second rank, how strong will his overall strength be? Of course, if it is just a step-by-step exercise, let alone a few decades in life, even if there are hundreds or thousands of years, Li Yi will not be able to reach the extraordinary high level. Some people say that this workout designed by Uchiha Makoto is useless. Actually not. This workout is a must. The development of all things requires a strong foundation. How can there be a reason to build high-rise buildings in the air? The foundation is unstable, and tall buildings will collapse sooner or later. Even with the help of a plug-in, Li Yi must build a solid foundation. Now, the foundation has gradually stabilized, and preparations for work are about to be ready. Once the foundation is laid, then the next step is to build high-rise buildings. At that time, Li Yi's strength will enter an unprecedented state of rapid progress. Li Yi no longer thought about it. Soon, Uzumaki Kushina returned home safely. Chapter 220-graduate. The conversation between women is always endless. The two women stood at the door talking for a long time before they parted. Li Yi is leaning on the trunk of a big tree, eyes closed, arms folded, as if in contemplation. Uchiha Makoto came over and said, "Li Yi, let's go." Li Yi opened his eyes. Well. The two left side by side. Uchiha Makoto said, "Today is the 10th day of your training, and in 4 days, you will graduate." There was a hint of sarcasm in his tone. Li Yi smiled and returned, "Then after I graduate, I have to thank you, teacher. What kind of gift do you want?" Uchiha Makoto pouted slightly. "I don't want to be your teacher, and I don't need any thanks." "Then I won't give it away, just to save time, money and effort." Li Yi stretched and pretended to be happy. Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto became anxious and said, "How can you be like this?" The two chatted happily all the way. However, when Uchiha Makoto communicated, Li Yi was always doing two things and thinking about other things. He was thinking about Tsunade. Orochimaru had told him 2 or 3 days ago that Tsunade would be back in a week. That time, it should be after his workout. The exercise program Uchiha Makoto had given him lasted 2 weeks, and now there are 4 days left. Go home and wash up. Li Yi first took a nap. Uchiha Makoto did not sleep, but stayed beside Li Yi. She kept on speaking, as if she wanted to say something. However, until Li Yi fell asleep, she didn't say much. Li Yi was sleeping. He had a dream that he was kissing someone. And, when he woke up, he found a scent in his mouth. It's a scent that doesn't belong to you. He glanced at the kitchen. Uchiha Makoto is cooking in the kitchen. Li Yi touched his chin, thoughtfully. But he didn't think too much, but stood up, stretched, and walked into the bathroom to wash. When Li Yi finished washing out, Uchiha Makoto also brought the dishes to the table and said, "Let's eat." Li Yi first glanced at the time. It's almost evening and the sun has turned yuhi. He slept for a long time. Li Yi looked at the dishes on the table. Cooking pays attention to the appearance of color, flavor, and flavor. Today, Uchiha Makoto's dishes have fragrance, but the color, although not ugly, is not so beautiful. Under the hopeful gaze of Uchiha Makoto, Li Yi started to eat. It was delicious. At least it was countless times better than it was 8 or 9 days ago. Soon, the two of them finished their meal. Li Yi wanted to wash the dishes. However, Uchiha Makoto insisted on her doing it, and handed a pair of paper full of words to Li Yi, saying, "This is the exercise plan for the next 4 days. You can take a look first. According to the above plan, after 4 days of persistence, Chunin exam should not be a problem." Quote. Uchiha Makoto is busy in the kitchen. Li Yi sat on the sofa and looked at the plan. This plan is indeed reasonable for ordinary people, but for Li Yi, it lacks a key point. Li Yi slightly modified this plan and made a plan according to his actual situation. If the revised plan can last for 4 days, then Li Yi's own strength will probably surpass most of the special Jonins.